Little House in the Big Woods, reading 3. I'm going to start off with the last sentence and then continue from there. She would use them to flavor Johnny cake later. Cracklings were very good to eat, but Laura and Mary could only have a taste, for it was too rich for little girls, Ma said. Ma scraped and cleaned the head carefully, and then she boiled it till all the meat fell off the bones. She chopped the meat fine with her chopping knife in the wooden bowl. She seasoned it with pepper and salt and spices. Then she mixed the pot liquor with it and set it away to cool in the pan. When it was cool, it would be cut into slices, and that would be head cheese. The little pieces of meat, lean and fat, that had been cut off, the large pieces, Ma chopped and chopped until it was all chopped fine. She seasoned it with salt and pepper and with dried sage leaves from the garden. Then, with her hands, she tossed and turned it until it was well mixed, and she molded into balls. She put the balls in a pan out in the shed, where they would freeze and be good to eat all winter. That was the sausage. When butchering time was over, there were the sausages and the head cheese and the big jars of lard and the keg of white salt pork out in the shed, and in the attic hung the smoked hams and shoulders. The little house was fairly bursting with good food stored away for a long winter. The pantry and the shed and the cellar were very full, and so was the attic. Laura and Mary must play in the house now, for it was too cold outdoors, and the brown leaves were all fading from the trees. The fire in the cook stove never went out. At night, Pa banked it with the ashes to keep the coals alive till morning. The attic was a lovely place to play. The large, round-colored pumpkins made beautiful chairs and tables. The red peppers and the onions dangled overhead. The hams and the venison hung in their paper wrappings, and all the bunches of dried herbs, the spicy herbs for cooking and the bitter herbs for medicine, gave the place a dusty, spicy smell. Often the wind howled outside with a cold and lonesome sound, but in the attic, Laura and Mary played house with the squashes and the pumpkins, and everything was snug and cozy. Here's a picture of them in the attic holding their dolls. Mary was bigger than Laura, and she had a rag doll named Nettie. Laura had only a corn cob wrapped in a handkerchief. But it was a good doll. It was named Susan. It wasn't Susan's fault that she was only a corn cob. Sometimes Mary let Laura hold Nettie, but she did it only when Susan couldn't see. There, see the corn cob? She's got just a little corn cob doll. The best times of all were at night. After supper, Pa brought his traps in from the shed to grease them by the fire. He rubbed them bright and greased the hinges of the jaws and the springs of the pans with a feather dipped in bear's grease. There were small traps and middle-sized traps and great bear traps with teeth in their jaws that Pa said would break a man's leg if they shut onto it. While he greased the traps, Pa told Laura and Mary little jokes and stories, and afterward he would play his fiddle. The doors and the windows were tightly shut, and the cracks of the windows frames stuffed with cloth to keep the cold out. But Black Susan the cat came and went as she pleased, day and night, through the swinging door of the cat hole in the bottom of the front door. She always went very quickly, so the door would not catch her tail when it fell shut behind her. There's Pa. I think he's greasing his traps. Yeah. One night when Pa was greasing the traps, he watched Black Susan come in, and he said, "There once was a man who had 2 cats, a big cat and a little cat." Laura and Mary ran to lean on his knees and hear the rest. "He had 2 cats," Pa repeated, "a big cat and a little cat. So he made a big cat hole in his door for the big cat, and then he made a little cat hole for the little cat." There, Pa stopped. Does that make sense? But why couldn't the little cat, Mary began. Because the big cat wouldn't let it, Laura interrupted. Laura, that is very rude. You must never interrupt, said Pa. But I see, he said, that either one of you has more sense than the man who cut the 2 cat holes in his door. Then he laid away the traps, and he took his fiddle out of its box and began to play. That was the best time of all. Winter days and winter nights. The first snow came, and the bitter cold. Every morning, Pa took his gun and his traps and was gone all day in the big woods, setting the small traps for muskrats and mink along the creeks, the middle-sized traps for foxes and wolves in the woods. He set out the big bear traps, hoping to get a big fat bear before they all went into their dens for the winter. One morning, he came back, took the horses and the sled, and hurried away again. He had shot a bear. Laura and Mary jumped up and down and clapped their hands. They were so glad. Mary shouted, "I want the drumstick! I want the drumstick!" Mary did not know how big a bear's drumstick is. When Pa came back, he had both a bear and a pig in the wagon. He had been going through the woods with a big bear trap in his hands and the gun on his shoulder when he walked around a big pine tree covered with snow, and the bear was behind the tree. The bear had just killed the pig, and it was picking it up to eat it. Pa said the bear was standing up on its hind legs, holding the pig in its paws just as though they were hands. Pa shot the bear, and there was no way of knowing where the pig came from, nor whose pig it was. So I just brought home the bacon, Pa said. There was plenty of fresh meat to last for a big long time. The days and the nights were so cold, and the pork in the box and the bear meat hanging in the little shed outside the back door were solidly frozen and did not thaw. Okay, you can see Pa there with his gun, and over here in the corner you can see the bear holding the pig, and that's Pa shooting the pig. When Ma wanted fresh meat for dinner, Pa took the axe and cut off a chunk of frozen bear meat or pork. But the sausage balls, or the salt pork, or the smoked hams and the venison Ma could get herself from the shed or the attic. The snow kept coming till it was drifted and blanketed against the house. In the morning, the window panes were covered with frost and beautiful pictures of trees and flowers and fairies. Ma said that Jack Frost came in the night and made the pictures while everyone was asleep. Laura thought that Jack Frost was a little man all snowy white, wearing a glittering white pointed cap and soft white knee boots made of deerskin. His coat was white and his mittens were white, and he did not carry a gun on his back, but in his hands he had shining sharp tools with which he carved the pictures. Laura and Mary were allowed to take Ma's thimble and make pretty patterns of circles in the frost of the glass, but they never spoiled the pictures that Jack Frost had made in the night. Let's see, I'm gonna stop in about 1 minute and then start again. When they put their mouths close to the pane and blew their breath on it, the white frost melted and ran in drops down the glass. Then they could see the drifts of snow outdoors and the great trees standing bare and black, making them blue shadows on the white snow. Laura and Mary helped Ma with the work. Every morning there were dishes to wipe. Mary wiped more of them than Laura because she was bigger, but Laura always wiped carefully her own little cup and plate. Look, they're doing chores, they're making their bed. And I'm gonna stop here and post this and then do another one.